Alright, a really cool intro to Crazy Train. Not the very beginning of it, but cool guitar lick there. And I wanted to talk a little bit about it because yesterday I had a student come in and he was trying to get through it himself. And I just noticed little things when people are trying to teach themselves, and wanted to pass a little bit of knowledge on you guys to help you get through all this stuff instead of just trying it randomly and not really working in a good manner. Not that you're doing anything wrong, I'm just trying to save you time and to get you through stuff like this. So let's go to Crazy Train here and figure out what's going on. Obviously he's hitting fret 2 string 6 here, and then going to 4, and then coming back, and then going to 5, then coming back to 2, then going to 4, coming back to 2. And we're using the proper fingers is important, and how you hold your pick. So I mean, if I'm going to start with finger 1 on fret 2, then I'm going to use finger 2 for fret 3, and finger 3 is going to be for 4, and finger 4 is going to be for 5. So they kind of work in order. Great exercise too is doing this and just going down the fretboard. You could start it anywhere, doing groups of 4 frets on each string, and then lining up all 4 fingers to work together that way. So we'd have, that's a little fast. I mean, when I first got this, it's probably more like, but anyways, you could do that all the way down the fret, down the neck here and back up. It's a great exercise. To get through Crazy Train, the second half would be starting on fret 2, so we get 2 on string 5 with finger 1. Then you go up to fret 5 and 4 here with pinky and finger 3. Come back to 5, and then we do it again. And we open the top string up to N. That's cool if you can get the idea of those notes. But if it sounds like, which it usually does when we first start learning something, some good approaches to take, maybe just try the first 2 notes a bit. This is more, it looks like a power chord, so I'm sure if you guys have played for a bit, you know what a power chord looks like. And basically those 2 notes come from that power chord, F sharp. So we could work just those 2 for a bit. I like to get that going a bit, just being able to do it. Try to get your fingers working that way. And what I'm doing with my pick is it's a down, up, down, up. And so this is where some counting could come in handy when we're trying to work out these riffs. We could do something like 1 and 2 and. So that was 1 and 2 and. And on string 6 here with finger 1, my pick's going 1 and, which is a down and an up. And always keep your fingers out when you hold your pick, and hold your pick on the side of finger 1, and using your thumb, and come down the edge of the pick, not on the flat of the pick. Hopefully you can see that on the video camera that's directly on me, but that's flat, and we just want it on the angle. Have your pick pointing like to the corner of your neck there, so it slips off the string. Just want to use the tip of the pick. You don't want to have a whole bunch of pick sticking out, just a little bit. So the pick can slip off the edges. Usually wear the tip out of these Dunlop picks, because you wear the sides out, you wear the edges out. That's where all this plastic shreds come from, right? From using your pick that way. When you play flat, it can get stuck. Whereas it's a bit on an angle pointing to there, so you have to bend your thumb this way, bend it so you can see your knuckle, not the other way, but this way. And then we what you can do is start a little count and start using your foot and go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Notice how I started to count first. So I started counting, got my foot ready to come down onto the floor and say 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. You can slow that count down to whatever speed that works for you. You could be 1 and 2 and, because to get these guys going we have to give some sort of timing reference for when to land these, and if we're counting, that's our timing. Once we get that going, then we turn on a metronome and we try to work with a metronome. So this is more about teaching you how to practice. I find learning how to practice is important, not just seeing how it's done, but how do I get myself through it. So this is a great approach where we get this 1 and 2 and. Now if you can get that good and keep the count going with your foot, stop, like keep the note there after you say 2 and. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and get ready again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3. Now, if we can get that good 5 times, maybe we want to add the next note, which would be our pinky going to string 5 on fret 5. And so now we're going to get this 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now we know we got to come back, and it kind of works out great because the number 4 with the fret 4, the only difference is string 5 with finger 3. But we get this 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So there's the whole first half of that just by that kind of approach. If you find counting's tough and keeping it steady like a little hand on a clock, the little hand never speeds up or slows down, that's kind of how you have to count. You want to keep your spacings between everything you're saying even. 1 and 2 and. That's why we use metronomes and we learn to count with them too, so I'll do a class on that. But that 1, so that would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, and every time you hear that beep your foot should hit the floor, and then when you don't hear it beep your foot should be up. 1 and 2 and 4 and. So that's what we'll do next. We'll use this to tighten up our timing with our notes. So the next half of that riff starts here like we showed in the beginning of the video, fret 2 on string 5, and we get the same idea. I think it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, then we start again on 1, the number 1, 1 and 2 and. So I mean you could work these guys because it's a big stretch there, so you want your wrist to be down, not this way. You'll never get to there trying to pull your fingers over. You have to always keep your wrist down and teach your fingers to kind of walk down the string. And it's not something that happens quickly. I mean, I started really slow when I got these exercises. It was like, so don't think you can't do it. It's just teaching your body to do all these tricks, much like on a skateboard. If you're going to go down a stair rail for your first time, I hope you got a helmet on and some shin pads and everything else, because if you fall, you're going to get hurt. But at least you don't get hurt when you try this stuff on a guitar. It's just more like, why can't I do it? Well, a lot of times it's because of counting, so we need to start incorporating counting into our practicing. So when we come back to the second half, we want to go 1. Usually we should start a count before we start playing. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. So we could just work these two. 1 and 2. And the riff was. So we we only get one hit on this string. So it'd be 1 and. We'd have to get onto this note when our foot's up and be on this note when we say 1. So 1 and. 1 and. So now we get 2 where we come, if we can get that good, 1 and, 1 and, or 1 and, 2 and, 3 and, 4 and. Awesome. Yeah, so now we got to add fret 4 with that. So the count would be 1 and 2 and. So 1 and 2 and then we're going to end it with 3 and 4 and. So anytime you have problems getting your fingers to work, break it down into steps. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Got that one good? And like I said, you could start slow. You could be like 1 and 2 and 3 and always start your count before you play. Like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The other thing we could do is we could get this where we go to the next note. So we get 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Get that one good. And then we could try to go back for 3. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So some tips on how to kind of work your way through riffs without just struggling and teaching yourself timing. One of the most important things is learning to count and tap your foot, and I try to teach my students it, and I get it, it's really hard. I remember when I first had to do it. Excuse me, a lot of times it's nice just to pick down and up on an E string with no finger and go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and. You know, and keep your foot going, but start a speed that you can work with your pick too. Maybe it's slower if you're just starting out. It's like anything, going to the gym or whatever. We don't put 300 pounds of weights on, you know, and try to do 10 reps of bench pressing that kind of weight. We start very low. With music, we start with slower speeds and slowly teach our fingers to get faster, and then we have more fun. They get faster and faster, and they learn where to go quick. And but it's time invested in yourself for sure. So I'm gonna play the whole riff once through, really slow, well, slower than the song, so you guys can have it to kind of play along to once you've worked all these parts out using your foot and everything. And I'm gonna try to do it the way I talked about on the tutorial. So I'd be like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So second time I messed it up thinking too much about teaching it. So let's try that again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. There it is, guys. Up to speed would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Awesome riff, I love it. The next part's really cool too. We'll talk about that on another lesson because there's so much to explain. That's why yeah, this video is a little bit longer than most of my other ones. But yeah, try to get through that, and don't try to go fast after you've done it slow. Like, that's why we have metronomes. We start at a speed and then we just go up slowly, like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. Get that good. Then we go 1 and 2 and 3 and, you know, but things I learn, I repeat over and over, so it becomes muscle memory, and my hands can just do it, and I don't have to think about it. But that requires your time spending proper practice. Everybody used to say practice makes perfect. I say perfect practice makes perfect. And we're never really always perfect, but you know, you can get really close to being spot on with things and sounding really good by counting using metronomes and using your foot to count without a metronome to start. Yeah, next video we'll talk about maybe incorporating the metronome. All right, I hope that helps everybody, and have a great day today. We'll talk again soon. Bye for now. Oh, please, please subscribe to my channel. It inspires me to come in and want to do more things. I mean, I could be here all day and night talking about tricks on guitars, but unfortunately, I have to do other things to make a living. But if you guys hit subscribe, that helps support my channel, and it doesn't cost you guys much. Eventually building into a website where you could go to directly and learn all kinds of songs and things that I'm trying to build too. Not a lot of time to do it all, but I'm trying. All right, guys, again, I appreciate your support, and I hope that helps you out and gives you some tips on getting through this one riff. Take care. Bye for now.